Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Student Skills for Surviving and Thriving during COVID-19 and beyond, where we teach the lessons from the DBT Skills in Schools curriculum. I'm one of the curriculum developers, Dr. Liz Dexter-Mazza, and this is the other curriculum developer over here, Dr. Jim Mazza, we take turns managing the cameras here. And we're excited that you're here as we are teaching the social-emotional learning skills that we think are critical for this time during COVID-19 and how we're all adjusting to our own kids here in our living room. And since we're teaching it to them, we thought we would just stream it out so all of you can have them as well. For your teachers could learn them, you can learn them at home, and you can be practicing them with your families during this time. So with that, let me introduce our classroom of students here, and they'll introduce themselves, and then we want you can introduce yourself in the chat, make sure you're asking questions, and we will get you to participate as much as we can through this live stream. All right, so who do we have with us today? Will you introduce yourself first, sir?
No, sir. I'm Ashton, I'm 12 and I'm in 6th grade.
Okay.
I'm Grace, I'm 8 and I'm in 7th grade.
My name's Jackson, I'm 13 and I'm in 7th grade.
Fantastic. I'm going to move that over just like that so we can make sure you guys talk louder so they can all hear you as well. So with all of our mindfulness lessons, we always start out by doing a mindfulness exercise so that we can practice these skills of being in the moment right here, right now, that we think are foundational to all of the other skills and lessons that we're going to teach here during this time. And so if you haven't watched any of our mindfulness lessons, you can go back and watch some of those videos to have a little bit of a better idea on what those skills are. But we'll do a little bit review as we kind of go into this. So today, guys, we are going to do a mindfulness lesson of practicing observing, and we're going to practice the skill of observing. Do you remember what that is? When we observe, we just look or notice.
Observe.
Wordless watching. Exactly, Ashton. We're going to observe. Right, we're going to watch. And so we're going to observe and notice our breath, and we're going to do that by counting our breath. And today we're going to do it with an exercise called elevator breathing. So you know if you've ever gone to like a mall or a big building and they have a parking garage and you have to go down a couple levels in the parking garage to get your car, and then when you go and do your shopping or do whatever it is you're doing in the building, you go up levels and then you have to go back down to the basement. So that's how we're going to practice breathing today. We're going to practice breathing by counting, going up 4 levels. We're going to breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to get ourselves back down to the parking garage on level 2. So then we're going to have to go back down the elevator, and on our exhale, we're going to go 4, 3, 2, 1, P1, P2. And then we'll start back at level 1. We'll breathe in again, count up to the 4th level, and then we'll exhale slowly all the way down to P1, P2 on that. And we're just going to keep doing that for a little bit. And while you're doing it, here's the really big practice, is that you're going to practice watching your breath, which means keeping your attention inward on your breath, going out, like breathing all the way in, expanding your belly, feeling the air coming through your nose, your mouth, and then as you exhale, feeling the air go out and your body changing. And with that, here's the hard part, right? I want you to practice keeping your attention on your breath. So notice if you get distracted. Notice if your attention goes somewhere else. Simply notice that and bring it back. That's that kind of noticing muscle we talked about. Bring it back to your breath. And with this, we're also going to practice noticing any urges to move other than blinking or swallowing during this practice. Okay? Yes, Grace?
What if our eyes get super watery and blinking doesn't do anything? Can we wipe our eyes?
Nope, then I just want you to notice on that, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to make our eye contact. We're going to look down kind of about 4 to 6 inches in front of us and just gently rest your eyes on something like the floor or something in your room to help you keep from moving your eyes all around. What I don't want you to do is to kind of just stare like this and be like, try to hold your eyes really still, because that'll definitely make them water. So gently just kind of rest your gaze on something, right? Like as if you're staring off into the floor or into the mirror that's on the table here, okay? So we're going to practice also not moving. So I want you to, when you do this, I want everybody to kind of sit down where you can put your feet flat on the floor, So you guys are going to have to kind of move up in the couch, put your feet flat on the floor, put your hands on your lap, and you can have them, your hands down or palms up. And when you're breathing, we always often have a lot of urges to like wiggle, move, scratch, wipe our face, move our fingers, tap. And I want you to notice if you have any of those urges to do that, and notice the urge and not act on it. Tolerate that urge of wiggling, moving, scratching, shifting your posture and your attention, and just bring your attention back to counting your breath up to 1, 2, 3, 4, and back down to P1, P2. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions on that? I think the hardest part's going to be noticing your urges to move, other than blinking and swallowing, and not acting on it. Right? So by holding your attention over here and practice noticing that. And that's part of what I want you to practice today. Okay? Do we have any questions coming in from home?
Not yet.
Not? Okay. All right. So everybody, I'm going to count to 3 to get us to start, and then I'll tell you when to stop. So again, you're going to sit up with kind of like this wide awake position, mindfulness position, with your back straight, kind of like imagine a string pulling your head straight up to the sky without being overly stiff, because you want to be kind of holding that position during it. Okay? All right. So 1, get yourself, make sure you're in that flat, wide awake, mindfulness position with your feet flat on the floor. Ashton, your feet flat on the floor. Okay, your hands relaxed on your lap. Find a spot to rest your gentle gaze, looking down. Okay, 2, take a deep breath to get yourself ready. And 3, start the practice. And you can move your hands up and down if that helps you count, or you can just keep them on your lap. And stop. All righty. Wiggle your bodies a little. Everybody wiggle your bodies at home a little on that. All right. So let's talk about this practice now. First, what did you observe? What did you notice while doing it?
I noticed.
Something that was making noise with my hands.
When you're breathing, there was noise?
It was
Okay.
right down here.
Okay. All right. That's great. That when you're breathing, the expansion of your diaphragm was making your belt make a little noise? Okay. All right.
I noticed that it was so quiet that since you can't keep your hand like 100% still, like I was moving my head so much a little bit trying to keep it still, except it was only a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like my neck was squeaking.
Gotcha. Okay.
Also, close to the end, I started getting
Jim, the microphone's not on.
So they were getting echoes.
Okay.
So-
But they can't hear the kids. You don't have the microphone. It's muted.
They just said it was fine. So we will work on this.
Okay, great. Go ahead. Sorry. Who is going next? I got distracted.
Me.
Yes, Ashton.
It was like hard not doing like literally anything. So
Mm-hmm.
I just kept looking at like the mic little thing on the computer and seeing if it would go up and down if anyone breathes hard enough.
Okay, so you were getting distracted
Distracted.
with your thoughts. Were you having urges to move your body?
I was tapping.
You were moving your fingers.
I saw you going like this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so did you notice that urge?
Yeah.
All right, and was it hard for you to tolerate it and keep it still? Yeah. So that's exactly why we're practicing that. I imagine that happened for some of you watching as well.
Right. We have one family that said it was boring. It was what I noticed, right? Kind of what you were saying, Ashton, that you wanted some type of interaction, right? So you started looking at something else. And we also heard that the kids, they can hear the kids just fine.
Okay, great. I'm glad you guys can hear them on the microphones. And so noticing, right, this is one of the reasons why we practice this and we don't always do those kind of fun, exciting, participate exercises, because I also want you all to be able to practice noticing the urge to move, noticing the urge to twitch around. You're like picking at something, playing with something, fidgeting your hands, right? To notice that and to learn to practice to tolerate it without acting on it. Right? I was thinking about some of the shows we watched the last couple days, and there was like in one of the episodes of Merlin that we watched where the knights were coming in and Arthur and Merlin had to be really still so nobody noticed them, right? And they said, "Be still, don't make a sound," right? And they had to practice that and those urges, right? And the wildebeest one, also same thing. And not that we're always like making sure we're hiding from knights, but it's that ability to practice being still when we have to be still, right? And to notice the urge and not act on it. That's a lot of the reason we do mindfulness. So we're going to keep practicing these because it seems like just being able to try it once and not be able to do it doesn't mean you can't do it at all. It all takes time and practice. All right. So I'm glad that the microphones are working. Awesome. And you guys are doing great. Just make sure you talk loud so everybody can hear you. I'm going to let Dad take over and teach the next skill.
All right. So one microphone is off. All right. And so we might have to turn mine on when I'm turned towards the board.
Okay. Can you just turn your microphone volume down a little? Just hit, I'll show you how to do that. Nope. There you go.
Okay. So let us know if we start to echo again if Liz turns on that microphone. I'm hoping I got the one that was off there. So let's go to that first slide. We're going to be doing lesson 17 again, just a heads up. And so we're going to work with handout 17.4. That's page 435. Let's go back to, that one, right? So good. And so I want to put this handout up there again, just kind of our review of where we are. We're on the change side of the continuum of the dialectic that we have. We're doing what's an emotion regulation skill, all right? And where that fits into the big picture of the model of emotion, go ahead and next slide, please, is on when our emotions are below 65. Let's go back. When our emotions are above 65, what do we use? Crisis survival, right? Those are our distress tolerance skills.
And then below is emotion regulation.
And below is emotion regulation. Perfect. So that's exactly where we are, right? And one of the emotion regulation skills is what we call check the facts. We did that on Tuesday. Anybody give me a real quick review of what check the facts was?
Think before you act.
Let's think before you act. That's true.
Check facts. Check if your emotions fit what is actually right.
Beautiful. That's right. We're going to check the facts. And what we're going to learn today is what's called opposite action, right? And so when we check the facts and they don't fit, we're going to do opposite action. When we check the facts and they do fit, we'll do problem solving and wave skill. That's what's up there, right? And we haven't done those two yet. So we're going to stick with opposite action for right now, all right? And so that is perfect. So I'm going to want your help. You guys have your clipboards there, all right? And then Liz, one more slide. Perfect. So here is, we put this up, I think last week, we talked about the model of emotion. And why I wanted to bring this to your attention is you can see in that my lower right-hand corner, if you're viewing the screen, where opposite action is. It's actually something that's outside the body. It's a behavior that we're going to be able to do. If you remember from Tuesday, check the facts was over in the lower left-hand corner, right? It was actually under thoughts about the event. And so we're going to do that because what we're going to learn here about opposite action in our emotions is sometimes they're driven by our thoughts, right? And sometimes we want to make sure that we can get our emotions down. We have to maybe change our behaviors. So Ashton, has there ever been a time when you've been critical of Grace or Jackson and you start yelling and then you start yelling louder and louder and then you go, "Jeez, I just don't know why they don't get this." Ever happen? Do you feel like more emotional by the time you're done saying it? Yeah? So yes is good. All right, right? And Grace, when we talked about you being in the lunchroom, right? And not having any spot to sit, and you began to think, oh my gosh, nobody wants to sit with me, nobody wants to talk with me. And when you had those thoughts, did it all of a sudden feel like your emotion was bigger? Right? So what happens is that sometimes we can have an emotion, right? We're angry and we yell more and yell more, and guess what?
It gets worse.
Our behavior does it, right? There are times though when we have a behavior that starts to raise our emotions. I am loud. I'm trying to make sure that everybody can hear me. All right.
Yeah, bring your microphone down one more volume. Good. Yep.
I did too. So let's see if that works. I tend to be loud, I guess. All right. And so the idea here being is that we often will have emotion, and that impacts our behaviors. When you're sad, what do you want to go do? Grace, what do you do when you cry? Or go hide, right? What do you do when you're sad? Read. So, but you do something that's, you isolate yourself, right? And so that emotion dictates some of our behavior. There are times though when actually this happens. When your behavior actually increases your emotion. You yelling at Jackson or Grace. You feeling like nobody wants to sit with you in the lunchroom, right? How about yourself? Can you think of anything this way? Where behavior actually starts producing more emotion for you? Can't think of anything?
Embarrassments.
Yeah, right. So you've done something, and all of a sudden that causes embarrassment, right? And so one of the things that we're going to focus on is actually this one. So if we can do something different, if we can change our behaviors to change our emotion, that'll help get some of that down, right? And so the idea is that if we want to feel less sad, maybe we need to do a behavior that's more like in response to happen. Maybe if you're angry, we have to have a behavior that's really quiet, because that's going to actually turn it down. Yes. All right. And so let's work together to figure out what that's going to look like. All right. So if you guys want to grab your clipboards here, and we talked about on Tuesday, remember, about when does some of our emotions fit the situations, right? What are situations that fit some of our emotions? I'm going to erase this. Those of you looking for handout 17.4, it's on page 435. I'm going to erase this. And let's go with the emotions that are on page handout 17.4. So, Grace, what's that top emotion? What does it say? Do you remember?
Fear.
Fear. Let's go with fear, right? Fear. All right. And what is the urge that fear causes? So, us to do.
Escaping or avoiding.
Right. So let's go urge here. Urge, action. And we have a behavior action, right? So you said it's avoid, right? And then avoid. What else did you say, Grace? Escape, maybe? Okay. There, right? That's right. All right, that was one of the ones that we had before, right? What about, I think anger was the next one on our list. So, Ashton, can you read anger from me, please? Attacking. Would never happen in this house, right?
Totally. Never in a million.
Never. All right. So that's the urge that it causes, right? So when we feel angry, we have this urge to attack. All right. Jealousy. Jackson, can you read what jealousy is up there? What's the urge that we have?
You just skipped over 3 of them.
That's okay.
Verbal accusations, attempts to control, and acting suspicious.
Accusations. And maybe being suspicious. Okay, that sounds good. All right, so that was jealousy. Last time we covered love. Grace, can you read love? Nice and loud.
I love you.
Saying I love you. Okay.
Making efforts to spend time with the person. Doing what the other person wants and needs. Giving affection.
Okay, giving affection. I like that. These are the urges that these cause, right? So when you love somebody, you want to say I love you, you want to get close to them and so forth, right? Great. All right. What about sadness? Ashton, sadness.
Run.
You want to run, so can you read what's on the sheet, please?
Oh.
And we'll see if that is actually there.
Withdrawing, becoming passive, isolating, and running.
Is running on there, or did you make that up?
No, it's not.
Yeah, uh-huh. I don't think so. Drawing. All right. What else do we have there? We've got,
Becoming passive.
what else? Jackson, what else is on that list that's there that we didn't
Shame
cover?
and guilt.
Shame. Thank you. Go ahead. What's shame, Jackson? Read shame.
Hiding, avoiding, withdrawing, saving face by attacking others. What?
Hiding, avoiding again. Okay.
And saving face by attacking others.
Yeah. Saving.
And withdrawing.
That's hiding.
It's okay.
Or
Saving
avoiding.
face. And that's important with the emotion of shame. And then guilt. Grace, what's the guilt? Can you read that last one for me? What's guilt?
Over promising that you will not commit to the offense again.
Yeah.
Claiming all responsibility. Hiding, lowering head, begging for forgiveness.
Okay. Those are the urges that we have inside our bodies, right? So if we have these urges, and Liz, if you can go back to that model of emotion. Great, right there. If you look at this model of emotion, look what's at the inside of the body circle, and at the bottom of the inside the body circle is the physical sensations and those action urges. We have all these urges, so we can experience these 7 different emotions and have this urge. Now, what's really cool about Check the Facts is when we have this urge, and it happens really quickly when we have our thoughts, right, is we pause between inside the body and outside the body. Just because we have an urge to attack when we're angry, to withdraw when we're sad, doesn't mean we have to. All right? We have an urge that would provide us with an ability to do something, and we still don't have to do it. So just because you get this emotion that comes over you doesn't mean that you have to give in to that emotional urge, and that's really important. All right? So when we then take a look and check the facts, and we see if the emotion fits the facts, all right, then we can say, you know what? It doesn't seem to fit the facts. So Grace, what happens when an emotion does not fit the facts? A little bit louder.
You have to let it go.
You let it go. You could do that, right? Or what if you're really angry? So Ashton, what if you're already angry and it doesn't fit the facts? Run. Well, so that's actually a good idea, right? So that is an opposite behavior of anger, right? Because anger would tell you you'd be attacking.
Yeah, then you go cool off and come back.
That's right. You could run. You could kind of go away and cool off. So on your sheets there, on your piece of paper, let's think about times when we've had an emotion. Those of you at home, think about times in this last week where you've experienced maybe one of these 7 emotions that we listed here, or that are on handout 17.4. Thinking about an emotion that you had that's there on the list in this past week, and think about, did it fit the facts? All right? And I'm thinking about asking you to empty the dishwasher, thinking about video games, thinking about people calling you names, okay, which produce some sadness, right? And so if we have that pause and check the facts, we can actually do the behavior that's opposite of our action urge, and that will help reduce our behaviors, all right? So here's, yes,
So
go
a
ahead.
question from the audience. If one of you kids can share about a time when maybe you were angry and you used opposite action to get your anger down.
Oh, I like the question. Great.
Ashton, I can think of one specifically for you where you've had to think about that, where you were angry at someone and you figured out how maybe their heart was hurting and how to be nice and stand up for that person. Can you talk about that a little bit?
No names.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had a friend in
Nice and loud.
either 2nd or 3rd grade, and a lot of
Move
people
closer.
thought he was like kind of really mean or just like they didn't want to be around him. And so like everyone thought that, but then if you like actually like paid closer attention, you realize that he was just like just sad a lot of the time. So if you like just talk about it with him, or just like you do something else for him that's like the opposite of what the other kids are doing, like that would make that kid feel better, or like that would make them feel better because like they're included and they're like what's been happening to them just got like flipped around. So like then they're like they have a like they're together, they're like interacting and having fun with like a friend.
And what happened to your anger towards him?
Down.
A lot, right?
Good friends.
Right.
And we did a talent show together.
Right. So fantastic, right? You actually saw things from a different way. You had said that this person's heart was hurting. We got to help him. Instead of saying, "Oh my gosh, we don't like this kid. He's mean." Your lens was his heart is hurting. Let's pick him up and let's support him rather than let's tell him why we don't like him, right? And it made a
Because all
big.
that's gonna do is make it worse. Like, what's the point of making it worse? It's no benefit for anybody.
Great.
So.
No benefit for anybody. I
Right.
love it. That's a
And
great
the
example.
ultimate goal is that you wanted to be less angry when you were at school and around that each day, right? So you did that to get your own anger down.
Great. All right.
Dad,
So-
you have a sticky note right here on your plate.
Okay. Thanks. All right. So let's then look at some of the things that we can do when we check the facts and the facts don't fit, our emotions don't fit the facts. We're going to do a behavior that actually gets our emotions down. All right. So Jackson, fear. Give me the opposite action behavior on the page there for fear.
Approach.
Approach. So instead of being afraid of something and trying to escape, we're going to approach. Okay? Yeah, that's the opposite, right? And so if we're afraid of something, instead of walking away and not getting closer to it, we're going to actually approach it, right? And do it more often, right? Can you think of an example that Dad did in the last couple of years that he doesn't like, and instead he approached it and did it?
Wrapped.
Roller coasters.
Roller coasters is one.
Wrapped.
Wrapped? No, I can't think of that. That thing. Thinking of something else that's big and goes around in circles.
Oh, the Ferris wheel.
The big wheel, yeah,
The big
exactly,
wheel.
right?
London
Didn't like
Eye.
that.
London.
And so getting exposed to that, right? Instead of checking the facts, I'm not going to die on the big wheel. I'm not going to die, right? Having to repeat that, I checked the facts, right? I checked the facts and said, hey, I don't have anything to be worried about. So I've got to approach rather than walk away. And
You did that at Disneyland.
I did quite a few roller coasters at Disneyland.
No, you didn't do the Ferris wheel.
Yeah,
I didn't do
the
this. There were a couple
spinning
things I
Ferris
didn't do.
wheel.
I couldn't do everything at Disneyland. All right, so that's fear. Grace, can you read about anger? It's down at the bottom of the sheet. Yep. Thanks for the help, Ashton.
Yeah.
Go ahead, read nice and loud.
Gently avoid.
Yeah, gently avoid. Okay, I like that. Gently avoid. Or actually even do something nice for someone. All right? Jackson, let's do the next. Jealousy. What's the opposite action of jealousy?
That's on the next sheet.
Okay?
Let go of controlling others' actions.
Let go of controlling others' actions. I like it. Let go of controlling others. Control others. Right. In jealousy, we want to control what everybody's doing so that we can keep what we want, keep our relationships, keep things that are valuable to us. And the opposite action is actually let it go. Let it be as it is. All right? So that's good. How about love? Ashton, what's the opposite action of love?
Hate. I need to look at the sheet.
Yes, look at the sheet and read it though, please.
Stop.
What's the behavior?
You stop experiencing love.
So stop experiencing love.
Pressing.
Oh, was it expressing love?
Yeah.
Stop expressing love.
Sorry.
All right, stop expressing love.
And what are some of the behaviors you might do to stop expressing love? That's an emotion.
Behaviors, Ashton.
Do something mean.
Well, you don't have to do something mean though, right? You just stop expressing love. So what would you stop doing?
Going on dates.
Okay, stop being helpful. Stop going out on dates. Stop giving your affection.
Break up.
Right. Well, it might lead to that, right? Absolutely. How about sadness? Grace, where is sadness? Do you see it?
Get active.
Get active, yeah. Right? For sadness, it's get active because sadness has us get active. How about we do it this way? Sadness has us wanting to be like in our rooms, right? Or kind of avoid everything, do nothing. So getting active really works well. And actually, there's a whole treatment called behavioral activation that works for people who are really sad and depressed. All right? So that's great. Shame. Jackson, what about shame?
Face the music.
Face the music. Well, what does that mean?
When your behavior violates your moral values or something shameful has been revealed about you, and shame for the facts. Apologize and repair the harm when possible.
Okay, great. Tell me what face the music means.
Face the truth.
Face the truth. And so can you give me a little bit more behavioral description of that?
Be honest.
Be honest. If you've done something that's a behavior that you feel like, it violated the community morals and culture,
Your morals.
that's going to be guilt. We're going to get to that one, right? Then you go and say, okay, tell me what it is I did. What I do that was wrong. Face the music. I'm sorry for what I did,
Also,
or right? So you can do that.
Go public.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Instead of being shamed, because look, it says hide and avoid, right? Saving face. Matter of fact, when you face the music, you do the opposite of saving face. You go like, you know what? I messed up.
Let me be known.
That I messed up, right? And we don't feel that way, right? That will get shamed out. All right. Grace, can you read that last one? Guilt. Do you see it? Maybe it's on the next page for you. Go ahead, nice and loud.
Face the music.
Face the music again? Or is that shame?
Guilt.
That's guilt.
Guilt as well? Okay.
Yeah, but then below it also says don't apologize or try to make up for it.
Why not?
Because you basically apologize
Well,
to
so
yourself.
keep in mind, remember, the action urge of guilt is to over-apologize. So we don't want to over-apologize for us being who we are. Are we perfect? No. Can we make mistakes? Absolutely. Yes. So one apology, if you've made a mistake, if you've hurt somebody, sure, make it one apology and then that's it, right? The idea is always that what we want to do is try to say, I am who I am, this is me, instead of trying to overpromise something that you can't control, all right? So that's the opposite action of when you have the emotion of guilt. And so the idea behind these things is to utilize the behavior can actually change the emotion and reduce the emotion by acting opposite. So those of you at home, what emotions have you experienced, and then what other types of opposite action things did you do? All right? And while we're waiting there, keep in mind too, when we have guilt, we can do that one apology. We don't over apologize. That's the big thing that we get into, right? And so over promising, not good, and then over apologizing, right? We don't over apologize for that. All right. Anything coming in from our audience?
No.
Nothing at this point. Okay. So so this is a really strong skill that happens that we can use to get our emotions down when we don't like the experience that we have. What's the big thing about some of the emotions that are up here that give us a reason why we want to get them down? What happens inside? We don't like the physiological responses, right? We don't like that, so we want to get rid of physiological. It's what happens physically inside your body. Okay, So that's a fair question. I like that. Physiological.
Physiological.
Physiologically.
Right. What are the sensations you feel
Correct.
in your body?
So that's part of the inside the body model that we had. All right. And so what we're trying to do is to reduce the emotion that we have, because it gives us that physiological response that we don't like. All right. Physiological response. Yes, that inside the body response we don't like. Will that be good? Inside the body. So this is only one of them though, right? So when do we use opposite action? Coming back to you. When do we use it?
Below 65.
Yes, because we're going to use emotion regulation skills. When do we use opposite action in particular? When you have any of the emotions. But I'm looking at Jackson right now. I love that you're participating, and I want you to give Jackson a turn.
When do I do opposite action?
When should our people at home use opposite action? When should you use opposite action? Can't think of it? All right. Grace, when should you use opposite action? And what's the question that we ask just before we do opposite action?
Does this make sense?
Does it make sense? Pretty close.
Is this true? Are you 100% sure it's true?
Right. So you're looking at Captain Snout and the ants. Nice job. All right. Right. Our automatic negative thoughts are the ants and Captain Snout. So it's an emotion regulation skill. We got that. Below 65. What's the first thing that we do once we're below 65? Check the facts. We have to ask ourselves, check the facts. That's right. You're 2 for 2 again now. That's great. All right. And if it does fit the facts, are we doing opposite action? No, we're not. Correct. We're gonna over here and we're gonna do either like problem solving or wave skill, which we're gonna get to next week. If it doesn't fit, if our emotions don't fit the facts and there's some other way to explain it, then what?
Opposite action.
Opposite action. Great. So let's go to the next slide. Oh, yeah. What do you got?
Yeah, so we have an example from home that when I broke my screen on my phone that I just used for audiobooks, it fit the facts that I was sad. I really wanted to yell at my mom though, so I used opposite action because it didn't make sense to be angry at my mom. So they just talked about how sad they were and then sat with their mom.
Great.
And another person's shame when I spoke poorly about someone and was caught. And then I had to apologize and ask for forgiveness. So in that scenario, shame fit the facts. So to face the music in that one makes sense, right?
Because the shame was justified at that. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. That's great. I think that's what we have so far, right? All right. So let's put up the next slide that I have. So we've got opposite action. We check the facts. When the facts don't fit, when the emotion doesn't fit the facts, we do opposite action. And keep in mind, though, we have to make sure there's 2 important things that we have to qualify here for fitting the fact when the emotion does not fit the facts, right? We have to figure out, is this going to happen? So was I going to die on the big wheel? No. We have always a chance. I could die in the house, right? Correct, right? So how about when we see a garter snake? Would that be something that would kill somebody? No. Or even petting a garter snake, right? They're not going to die from that, right? So that's one of the things that we would talk about, that even then you're still not going to die, right? So we have to check the facts there. And then the second part about that, when the facts don't fit, is the strength of the emotion. Is the strength of the emotion, the emotional reaction I'm having, does that fit the situation? Right? So we do want to make sure that we face the music under shame. We face the music when it does fit the facts, right? So that's important, all right? And so the second step of this is when you do opposite action, all right? When you do opposite action, you have to do it all the way. So it's not okay for me to go down to the big wheel and sit there and just look at it and say, see, I went, I participated, I'm good, right? And looking at it. That doesn't work, right? So when you do opposite action, you actually have to do the opposite behavior. You have to do it with your actions. You have to do it with your words. You have to do it with your thinking. I'm going to be okay. This is going to be all right. And I'll be fine, right? And so what I have to do is make sure that I'm doing opposite action all the way. That's how it's going to be most effective, all right? So do behaviors, I can't read it, hon. What does it say? Okay. So, yep. And so those are the two key steps that we have in doing opposite action, right? Does it fit the situation and the strength of my reaction, right? And then once you figure that out, does it fit? Then you have to do opposite action all the way if that's what you decide to do. All right? Are there any questions there?
No.
Grace? If you see a different kind of snake, then that action might be justified, right? If it's a snake that might be poisonous, right? So then you might not want to pick it up, right? And so there are some snakes that might be dangerous. I totally agree, right? So it could be, right? And so here's what I want to do. Yeah, got a hand up. Go ahead.
What about if you're afraid of something and you break your approach down into steps?
Sure.
Right.
Good idea.
Right. Is that still opposite action all the way?
Sure. If you
do small steps.
Small steps to get there, absolutely. You're still looking at that goal. You're trying to do a behavior that's opposite of what the urge would be of the emotion that you're experiencing. So that's a great way to do it. You can do step by step. No problem with that, right?
As long as you get to like what it was going to be anyway.
Right. And so if we take me in the big wheel, first maybe I go down to the Ferris wheel, or if I don't like to fly, I go down to the airport. Next time I get on the Ferris wheel while it's stopped, I get on a plane while it's not moving, right? And then I get actually on the Ferris wheel and it goes. I get on a plane and it goes, right? And so I think you can do that, breaking down step.
You watch it, you get in line, and then like a different day, like you get in line, and then you leave, and then like a different day, you're like, oh, well, getting in line is nothing, and then you like get on.
Correct. You get more
and
from
you're
it.
like, get on, and
Those
then you get back on, and then you're like, yay, this is fun.
Right. So you can have that experience, all right? So yeah, I think you can do step by step.
And that's still all the way,
It's
because
still-
each time you're going and experiencing your emotion and going all in.
All right. So here's the thing with, I'll cover guilt and shame. All right. If you're feeling shame or guilt and it's not justified, all right, you need to go back and do the behavior more, right? You have to engage in that behavior if it's not justified. So the fact that you might have been helping out your friend in second grade, third grade, and some of your friends might have made fun of you, right? And you were feeling shame. That shame was not justified. So it was not justified, right? So what you do is then you would keep doing it and doing it and doing it more because it's not justified. And show them. Correct.
Too bad, man.
That's right. All right. With that, I've got 10:44. Let's see if we can't get our last slide up. So here's the takeaway points for you at home. All right. Checking the facts and opposite action work together, right? Remember, check the facts is our first question if we know we're below our emotion thermometer, right? It's the answer to the check the facts that we're looking for, right? If the emotion does not fit the facts, we do opposite action. If it does fit the facts, we're going to go a different direction, okay? And so opposite action is a skill we use when it does not fit the facts, all right? Opposite action helps us change our emotion by changing our behavior. That's when our behavior can actually help us get down our emotion by doing the opposite of this emotional urge, all right? And then finally, when we do opposite action, we need to do opposite action all the way, which is really important. Through our behaviors, through our thoughts and actions, and then through how we interact with others as well, all right? Through our behaviors that way. Okay, with that, any questions? Any questions from our audience?
Make sure to subscribe and leave a like.
Thank you, Ashton. With that, everyone, please have a skillful and good weekend, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday at 10 a.m. for our next student skills survival class. And then on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, you can find Liz and I on Facebook Live, DBT in schools. We talked with the parents about how difficult this situation's been, how to work with your kids as well. And that is at 7 a.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. With that, take care and have a good one.